A red thread growing inside the eye did not seem like a big deal. The man thought pulling it out would fix everything. At least he still had one eye left he could use. What he did not know was that this red thread was part of an ancient puppet curse. The woman on the other end of the red thread sliced open her palm, then smeared her blood across the doll's face. Sensing that the man was trying to run, the main door slammed shut. Right after that, the woman snapped the doll's left arm. The man was thrown backward in an instant, helplessly watching his joints shatter apart. Then the woman used the same trick again, twisting the man's body into a human knot. One slash after another, the man crashed uncontrollably into the bookshelf. His head was ringing non-stop. When she had finally had enough fun, the woman began humming a creepy clay doll nursery rhyme. Meanwhile, the other man struck a pose like the coconut palm juice ad, trying to reveal the truth before he died. This man with his neck twisted so far right he was dead beyond saving was Suchuan, a designer at a VR game company. The company had just developed a new horror real scene experience game based on a real unsolved case from the Su family in Taipei. It was said that a professor surnamed Su had killed his whole family, then took his own life. The bodies rotted for a long time before the neighbors discovered them. Suchuan followed AE to the Su house. Using a professional scanner to scan every corner of the house in real detail, AE was bold. Compared with ghosts, he was more afraid of being poor. As long as they finished tonight's job, they would get a pretty big bonus. Suchuan was much more timid. He felt this haunted house was even scarier than a ghost attraction. Suchuan suggested burning incense and saying a prayer, so they would not disturb the old friends living in the house. But AE thought that would waste too much time. This house was very unusual. It even had a kiln used for firing pottery. Inside it, AE found a clay doll. He said it looked beautiful and he really liked it. The clay doll had no color and no painted eyes. There were strange symbols drawn on its back. What is even nice about that fall cracked the top of the clay doll's head. AE cursed in anger. Suchuan cried and said he quit. In just a moment after AE turned around, Suchuan, who was lying in a pool of blood, suddenly disappeared. When he turned back, that person was standing in the dim light. Seeing Suchuan with his neck twisted, he slowly stepped backward. The next second the two of them vanished in a strange way, leaving the game company waiting for the real scene data in trouble. The investors only saw a pile of presentations and were very unhappy with the progress. Just as they were about to start scolding, Suchuan suddenly appeared. Everyone thought it was some kind of prank, but then Suchuan started vomiting and having diarrhea, from the vomit of old porridge weighing over 10 pounds. There was even a woman's wedding ring inside. The boss thought Suchuan just had food poisoning and got a stomach problem. The most important thing now was to finish the game. Poor Suchuan was forced by the boss to take over the project. He brought back the box of items AE had collected, including the clay doll back home. Suchuan's wife Muhua was a cultural relic restorer. She had just become pregnant. The couple loved Hangzhou, so they named their baby Xiao Longbao. Suchuan even installed a camera so he could slack off at work and chat sweetly with Muhua. To make the game character setting more complete, Suchuan looked deeper into Lu Shi's background. In one interview, Lu Shi once said she really liked using local clay to make sculptures. Lu Shi had a younger sister named Lu Yan. According to Lu Yan, Lu Shi believed that all things had a spirit, so every piece would be marked with a Taoist charm to preserve the spirit inside the work. If you keep something this creepy at home, how could nothing happen? First, the air conditioner jumped to 32 degrees in the middle of the night and woke Muhua up from the heat. For some reason, Muhua walked into the living room, then bent down and reached for the clay doll. The baby Xiao Longbao kicked once inside her belly. What Muhua did not know was that this was the unborn child's silent warning. Then the camera's face recognition turned on as if it had mistaken the clay doll for a living person. Seeing the camera move, Muhua leaned her face closer, but there was no one else in the room. Muhua looked around for a while, but in the end she still picked up the clay doll. While she was studying it closely, she suddenly heard someone calling her name behind her. The moment she turned her head, her finger got pricked and started bleeding. The blood seeped into the clay body and that nursery rhyme began to ring in her ears. The clay doll has a nose and a mouth but never speaks. The clay doll has no father, no mother, but still loves them. After that whole night, Muhua started acting a little strange. Her left eye turned completely red like she had a serious eye infection. Even though she never ate animal organs, she suddenly started eating pork liver and lean meat porridge. See, I told you pork liver tastes good. After that reminder, Muhua threw up all the pork liver she had just swallowed. For a pregnant woman, morning sickness seemed normal enough. Suchuan never even imagined that this was the first sign of possession. Something was fighting Muhua for control of her body. Once the man left and the yang energy in the house faded, the air conditioner started acting up again. Muhua changed it twice, but the temperature always went back to 32 degrees. Even the guanyin statue on the table turned into the clay doll. People say pregnancy makes you slow for 3 years, but no matter how confused Muhua was, she knew something was wrong with this room. She was not alone. By the time she wanted to leave, it was already too late. An invisible hand grabbed Muhua tightly. The other version of herself in the mirror showed a satisfied smile. In the real world, Muhua was like a puppet, her body stiff and frozen. Following the movements of the one in the mirror, she picked up a carving knife and cut down. Then she mixed the blood-soaked clay into a lump and filled the broken top of the doll's head with it. After that she polished it with proper tools. The damaged talisman slowly became clear again. When Suchuan got home from work and saw the repaired clay doll, he quietly praised his wife's skill in his heart, but when he lay down to sleep, he was drenched in sweat. He thought the air conditioner had broken, but this was actually the clay doll's favorite temperature. The whole room had become one giant incubator. So Suchuan's actions made the possessed Muhua angry. Suchuan was completely stunned after being yelled at. When he finally realized something was wrong and pulled the blanket aside, he was shocked. There were thousands of bloody scratch marks across her stomach. Muhua had truly become the girl of 1,000 cuts. Suchuan, who was about to be a father for the first time, still foolishly went online to search for answers, thinking this was all just part of pregnancy symptoms. The boss told him not to overthink things. One sentence would become an important turning point. The reason a woman carries a baby for 10 months is not only to wait for the child to grow, it is also to give the man enough time to learn how to become a qualified father. Later Suchuan checked the surveillance. Muhua suddenly appeared right in front of the camera, showing that the possession had entered the second stage. At that moment Suchuan, who was recovering at home, called. He only said 2 words, "Help me." Ashing did not hesitate and rushed to Suchuan's house. Meanwhile Muhua picked up the doll she bought for Xiao Longbao and cut open her palm with a knife, using blood to activate the remote control curse. After the body folding dance, an even more brutal move was coming next. Muhua kept slashing again and again. Suchuan slammed his head into the bookshelf again and again. Suchuan was so scared he almost wet himself beside the bed, his legs shaking like he might collapse any second. Suchuan tried with all his strength to reveal the secret of the clay doll. He tried to restore the scanned image of the clay doll and could faintly see symbols carved on the back. The problem was the one at home had been stained red with blood, so none of the markings could be seen anymore. Seeing Muhua in that terrifying state, Suchuan finally decided to find someone knowledgeable for help. He went to Xianzheng Temple and asked Master Li, who was on night duty. Master Li recognized it as an ancient Taoist script, but some characters on the top were missing. Coincidentally, there was a Taoist named Asheng who was an expert in this field. Every time Master Li found something valuable, Asheng would take only the talisman and leave the rest. He focused only on studying the symbols. After studying them he would carefully copy each stroke, then burn the paper into ashes and kept these collected talismans inside a box. Suchuan asked Asheng for help. At first Asheng refused, but when he saw the clay doll, Asheng stopped in his tracks. "Where did you find this talisman?" Anyone experienced would know talismans are divided into innate and acquired ones. The one on the back of the clay doll was a forbidden innate talisman, specially used to seal powerful and stubborn ghosts, so if they wanted to seal the ghost back, they could only take a gamble. Asheng followed Suchuan back home. As soon as he entered, he locked eyes with Muhua. The battle between good and evil had begun. "You stepped on salt and can still hold on this long." Thunder of 5 elements called from heaven. 3 forces transform into countless forms. The spell rises and the talisman shines. The sealing blade breaks the flames and clears. Transform the flames. Let go. Then Muhua's body bent backward unnaturally. A cloud of blood mist rose into the air. Asheng used every bit of strength he had, but the progress only reached halfway. He collapsed from exhaustion. The blood mist returned into Muhua's body. It looked like this thing was gathering power for something big. The sealing was not fully successful. Asheng could only tie Muhua up for now. He asked Suchuan how long the doll had been at home. Suchuan counted carefully and said about 6 days. "You waited this long before thinking about an exorcism. One more day and Muhua would be completely taken over." She only repaired this clay doll, and just like that, the ghost could even choose a host to fix its own talisman. How could such an evil power even exist? "Do you know how this clay doll was made?" Only Lu Yen could answer that question. Lu Yen also wanted to find out what happened to her sister Lu Shi. So the two sides quickly reached an agreement. Asheng did not waste any words. He took out a red cloth and covered her eyes, then tied a red string around her wrist and lit a soul-returning incense stick. Its effect was almost like time travel, letting Lu Yen go back and see the truth clearly. Through the red cloth, Lu Yen saw Lu Shi digging up a grave in the bushes. So that was how she stole corpse soil to make her pottery. On the way back Lu Shi became exhausted and started bleeding from a miscarriage. The baby died inside her womb, falling into deep depression. Lu Shi came up with a method. She mixed the dead fetus into the corpse soil and slowly kneaded it into an embryo shape, then sent it into the kiln to be fired. Singing that clay doll nursery rhyme as it burned, this would refine the soul inside the soil. Completely consumed by madness, Lu Shi slit Professor Su's throat. Since the whole family was already gone, Lu Shi also gave up struggling. She wrote down the talisman, then carried the clay doll and walked into the kiln, singing clay doll while stacking bricks into place. burning herself alive in the flames. In other words, inside this clay doll the dead fetus and Lu Shi's restless spirit were sealed together. There was only one way to break it. They had to return to the haunted house and find Lu Shi's body. Suchuan had never practiced Taoist magic. If he went in he would get possessed, so he came up with a brilliant idea. A Sheng would be responsible for finding Lu Shi while he used the completed VR virtual image system to search for the missing piece from the top of the clay doll's head. The good thing about a game was if Suchuan ran into a ghost, it was just game over. He could reload with endless lives and start again. But a Sheng in the real world was not that lucky. The moment he stepped into the room with the kiln, he was knocked flat right away. You want to possess me? Then you asked for this yourselves. Thunder of 5 elements called from heaven. 3 blazing forces transform into countless forms, turning energy into spirit. A Sheng easily pulled away the bricks and found Lu Shi's burned remains. Meanwhile Suchuan in the car ran into a big problem. The data scanned by AE had been damaged and one area was just a blur. Suchuan moved around to the front and finally saw Lu Shi's vague shadow. He found the missing fragment and completed the last corner of the talisman. He did not notice Muhua behind him at all. Her 2 pupils became 3, then 3 became 4. Suchuan rushed into the room to find a Sheng and saw that a Sheng was blocked behind the kiln. The mutated Muhua followed closely behind. She stabbed a knife straight into his side. Luckily a Sheng's talisman token was powerful enough. As soon as it was placed, it forced Muhua back to normal. Taking advantage of this short break, Suchuan held Muhua as she regained her senses and remembered their loving past together, while a Sheng used the notes to write the correct talisman. Thunder of 5 elements called from heaven. 3 blazing forces transform into countless forms. Normally when the blood mist appears, a Sheng could seal it into Lu Shi's remains, but this clay doll did not follow the rules. It slipped through the belly button into Muhua's womb. That thing wanted to use her womb to give birth to complete its own rebirth. A Sheng said the talisman only allowed one choice. If Muhua was to survive then the fetus had to die. Facing this classic choice between mother or child, Suchuan said he was not a kid, he wanted to save both. If you keep delaying, when dawn comes neither can be saved. There was no time left to seal the evil spirit. Besides the power of the forbidden talisman, the container used for sealing also mattered. The words in the Taoist book gave Suchuan an idea. At the final moment he chose to use his blood as bait and move that thing into his own body. After being possessed, Suchuan remembered what the boss had once said, 10 months of pregnancy is also the process that makes a man truly grow into a father. A father is someone who must carry all the responsibility, even if it leads to death, he still has to walk that road. Thinking that, Suchuan suddenly stabbed and burst one of his eyeballs, weakening the clay doll's control. The chance vanished in a flash. Sheng rushed forward and tore open his clothes, then wrote the forbidden talisman on his back as Suchuan crashed to the ground. 1 year later, little Xiao Longbao was now starting to talk. The game experience package developed by the company was suddenly delivered to the house. This virtual reality looked no different from a real person. Looking at the lifelike Suchuan, Muhua could no longer hold back her tears. The game AI had refined and preserved Suchuan. He became a digital person, staying by the mother and daughter forever. As for the real Suchuan, he was lying in bed with tubes attached. Unless something unexpected happened, Suchuan would never get up again in this life. There were still 3 talismans left in a Sheng's collection box. They were spirit stealing, life borrowing and soul returning. At the same time Lu Yen took out another clay doll and showed a strange chilling smile. And that is where clay doll comes to an end. Thanks for watching, see you in the next video.